Hello and thank you for joining me. First of all, may I wish you a happy Easter, and if you do the chocolate egg thing, don't eat too many. Today's video is about planning and being honest with yourself before you start to build a get-home bag or a bug-out bag. Stay with me. So as per the title really, before you build a get-home bag, make a plan and be honest with yourself. Now what I mean by that is, you've probably researched this get-home bag, looked at videos on YouTube, looked at my video on my get-home bag, looked at read blogs, various different articles that are on the internet to give you an idea on what a get-home bag is and potentially what it contains. But we're all different, and in the UK, a UK get-home bag is not going to be the same as one perhaps that's for someone that lives in America. The geography is different, there's so many differences, although we all speak the same language, almost. So at the end of the day, this get-home bag has to get you from wherever you are to home, to your family, and to where your preps are in as quickly and as safely as possible. It could be that you commute by train or by bus, or you cycle to and from work or school, or you drive. And that does have a bearing on what you're going to have in your kit, because you have to potentially carry it. Looking at the videos on YouTube, it is very easy to think I need a fixed blade knife, a saw, an axe, a tent, a sleeping bag, a stove, and a few days' food. And at the end of the day, in the UK, for a get-home bag, you need virtually none of that. Number one would be your clothing, because you obviously need to maintain your core temperature. So it is having clothing that is suitable for the time of year and the weather that's expected. Yesterday's a prime example. 16 degrees, sunny day during the day, and it was down to 1 degree overnight. So you could potentially go out yesterday during the day in t-shirt and shorts, something bad happens and you can't get back until the next morning, and you're going to be freezing your brass monkeys off because it's dropped to 1 degree and you're not suitably dressed for the occasion. So as we know, or we should know, it is much better to layer up than to wear a heavy item of clothing. So for instance, you could have a t-shirt on and then a fleece and then a windproof, waterproof jacket that goes over the top, as opposed to just a heavy coat that you put on over the top. And the reason I'm saying that is, if something does happen and you have to walk home, if you've got your winter coat on, for instance, your heavy coat on over the top of your t-shirt, after a short period of time, you're going to get very hot, start sweating, and that's going to start to cause you to dehydrate. So it's much better to start off relatively cold, and then as you walk, your body will heat up and you'll warm up. Then when you stop for every 10 minutes per 1 hour of walking, for instance, as you start to cool down, you throw a layer on to keep you warm, and then as you go to start off again, you take it off. It sounds like it's a load of faffing about, but the reality is that's the best way to do it. Likewise, you need to either have with you or be wearing a pair of your footwear that needs to be a broken in pair of shoes or boots that you can actually cover the miles without too much pain and discomfort. Now, if you are commuting, then you have to be able to carry this kit to and from work. So it needs to be as small as possible and as lightweight as possible. Otherwise, you're not going to take it. You might start off good, and then after a week or so think, oh, I just can't, it's too inconvenient to lug it about and leave it at home. And then disaster strikes and you're as unprepared as a non-prepared person. So for a UK point of view, a get home bag needs to be able to provide you with hydration, some very basic first aid items, which is really going to be just a boo-boo kit and some pain pills, a paper map of the area that you travel, be it a pocket A to Z or an OS map, because whilst digital maps are excellent, if your battery's flat or there's no service, so you can't use your normal navigation app on your phone, you're going to have drama. You may also consider having a compass, but that's something that you have to think about. You know where you are during your normal day or your working day, and it's your knowledge that will get you from there to home. Just be aware that though, when you're going by train or on the tube or by bus, that's not the route you're going to be walking. So you need to do a little bit of research in advance. You don't need a sleeping bag, especially not if you're commuting. You don't need a tent and you don't need a stove. It's prudent to carry some food just in case, and there are various options. You've got the good old boil in the bag food. This is a civilian version of a military rat pack. This one is pasta bolognese, but whilst you can eat it hot or cold, they're minging when they're cold, in my opinion, and you don't want to have to go to the expense of having to carry a stove with you. So you want something that you can actually consume whilst you're on the move. Now this one weighs 300 grams, yet it's only 336 calories. So it's not particularly calorie dense for the weight. These cereal bars are 40 grams in weight and 201 calories. So 2 cereal bars is 402 calories and only weigh 80 grams. 300 grams and 336 calories. So it's much easier to carry those than that. Ration pack rice pudding, 140 grams, so it's lighter, but it's still only 238 calories. 40 grams, 201 calories. So whilst these are nice, these make much more sense for you to actually carry for the purpose of giving you some fuel in your get home bag. There is no need in the UK to carry an axe or a machete or a folding saw or even a fixed blade knife in your get home bag. Your EDC knife, this one's a Swiss Army knife, has got a saw on it that is perfectly adequate for small branches, should you be in a position where you've got to improvise a shelter. You can buy Mylor emergency sleeping bags. They're usually orange and they're foil backed. The orange isn't something that I go for unless I'm carrying it as a survival item and I'm hiking out on the hills or whatever, where there is potential that I'm going to have drama and then want to be found. If I'm using my get home bag, the chances are things have gone tits up and I'm not going to want to actually draw attention to myself. So this one, for instance, is olive green. They're normally the size of a can of Coke or slightly bigger. All I've done with this one is put it in a bag and put it in my vacuum sealer, and then that's reduced the form factor of it to make it more manageable. You can also pack a Mylar blanket. Again, I have some that are an olive green on one side and foil on the other. And if you play about and get some experience with it, you can make a temporary shelter. They are though really one-time use only. So in this instance for the get home bag, it would be where perhaps you have one unfortunate night out for whatever reason. If the distance involved was that great that you could potentially have 2 or more nights out, then I would be looking to have a poncho and some other items within the get home bag. Let's be honest, we could be walking a relatively long distance, and when I say that, even 10 miles, 10 or 20 miles, if you're not used to walking those sort of distances, especially with weight on your back, it's going to be miserable. So you want to keep the size and the weight as low as possible. You're only going to be looking at perhaps 2 miles an hour unless you're a seasoned hiker. And at 2 miles an hour, you're looking at a sort of 7 to 10 hour journey, you know, to cover up to 20 miles to get back. So you don't want to be carrying more than you really need, because the idea is get back quickly. You don't need loads of survival items. Admittedly, my video on my get home bag is more comprehensive, but that at the time was also to supplement my car kit, so it could be that I'm stranded somewhere and then I'd be using that in a static capacity. If, as I said, you're commuting or going to school or going to work, and especially if you're using public transport where you have to carry it on your person all the time, you want to scale everything down. It's not a bushcraft kit, as I said, but you should always have some survival type items in your kit just in case. And that is really why I do advocate having a mini survival kit in a tin, a personal survival kit. This is a polymath one that I've done videos on before. It's pretty light, doesn't take up any room, and if you ignore the fishing kit in there, the other items could potentially be of use to you getting back, you know, getting home in that type of scenario. There's a whistle in there, so for signalling if you need to, a water carrier, purification tablets, some tinder, and a method to make fire. Now, in a get home scenario, especially in the UK, chances are you wouldn't need to. You're not going to be lighting a fire. Yeah, you're not going to be going fishing, and hopefully you're not going to have to signal. It's just literally, you're on your feet, carrying your kit, get home as quickly as possible. As a consequence of this video, I will be putting together my idea of a lightweight, UK-based get home bag, so look out for that video. If you found the video to be of use, please give me a thumbs up, consider subscribing, and I'd love to read your comment, but please realise that I'm talking about a get home bag for the UK, not the States. Yeah, the distances that we have to cover. In the UK you can't travel anywhere for more than an hour without finding a man-made structure. Yeah, so there is a difference to it. Have a great Easter. See you soon.